Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to do the complex slicing on this one here. It's been a while. This one sat on the sidelines for quite a bit. We've just rubbed it all the way back, and we've got three distinct areas that we're going to try to salvage some bits out of. The first one, really obvious, tiny little gem just over here. It's pretty good. Could be a fairly high dome, but small cab. And we've trenched in here, had a look, and there's nothing. These color bars are not meeting up. So we're basically using that as a nice little groove now to get the slicing blade in. Now it's a little bit angled, and you do have to remember that when you're slicing, you really need to use straight lines. But it's not too bad. I think the blade will get nicely in between there, and then we might just snip it off this way. Or it'll be a little bit of a diagonal cut there. It won't quite make it all the way through because you want to be careful to avoid hitting the face because this has already been revealed and so is over here. So we want to make sure that the none of the moving parts of the Dremel end up hitting any of the faces. So we'll steer clear, pull back a fair bit, and yeah, do that cut pretty safely. The second cut, however, is going to be pretty complex. Because even though this area here is not showing a lot, you can see underwater it does have some colour, I still want to keep it and play around with it a bit, and then this area here is the one that we have to protect at all costs. And what we're going to do is slice between them just along this potch line here. Because I actually think, looking around, there's a little bit of colour that continues on underneath here, and I think it might link to this colour bar, because this was all covered in that dark black potch as well. So we're going to try to salvage one stone, two stones, and then one, hopefully, big gemmy stone. Because that one hasn't even been fully revealed. I've left a bit of fog over the top of it. And if I look over this side, you can see that there's definitely a bar that continues on underneath. Even down over here. So we're going to try our best to cut along this little potch line just here. So that one. All the way around. Now it's going to be quite tricky and there's not even any point drawing any lines in there. What I'm going to do is probably cheat a little bit and use one of the sintered burrs, most likely. This one just here. And instead of texturing on a line, I'm actually going to carve a line. So I'm going to carve a line using this burr just to give a nice little groove for the blade to get into. And the blade we'll be using today is just like this. So it's an electroplated burr. Well, electroplated cutting blade. It's not very big. It's only about 1 centimeter wide. It's about 1 inch in total kind of thing. But it does really good work. The little holes aren't important, but they do help clear out a lot of the ground up opal. And I find that these blades last the longest and they stay the truest for the longest too. You can see here, this one hasn't warped and I've used it for quite a while. They can have little chips and stuff in them. And of course, electroplated, they don't last that long. The diamond does disappear off it. But that's what it is. And we're going to use that and hopefully resurrect 3 little gems from this one for the subscriber that I'm working on this piece for. And then in the next video, we'll probably be able to finish hopefully 3. If not, at least 2. I don't care too much about this area, it's just would be fun to kind of carve a way out if possible. But these two, we really do need stones out of them. So let's dive in and see how we go. And we're in. This first cut was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. I do have the past video on slicing, but basically just feathering the surface until I cut a nice little starting groove. It can be pretty slippery sometimes, especially if you're cutting on an angled surface, but because I've got the trench already done here, then it's really, you don't have far to slip, so quite straightforward. Just keep dunking and keep slicing, just pass your blade over the surface, no need to push, and eventually you'll get lower and lower. It does get harder as you go deeper because you don't want to pinch the blade in or it'll kick or warp or whatever. And yeah, you want to avoid that, otherwise you might damage the surrounding opal that you've already shown off. But you get through and then boom, small piece gone. Here I'm doing the kind of tracing the line that I'm going to cut with the saw blade, just to give it something to purchase. This one is a really angled slice here. And you can see that the surface that you're cutting on is also angled. So it's really nice to give yourself a bit of a head start and cut a little bit of a groove in there. And you can see there that I'm still not quite happy with it. So just keep going in until you are. switch over to the saw blade and just start in that groove that you've made yourself and work your way out from there, slowly working around the stone. You don't really want to rely on keeping your line perfectly straight, so you kind of trace it out with your blade as well. And then we're going to get to the really stressful part, but it started out okay. Just want to be careful not to hit any of the face of the opal. And yeah, I'm just looking around the other side as well, just tracing that line like I said. Eventually we'll get right into it, but it's always good to know where you're going to go before you actually try to do it. And then the sweating part. Oh man, this makes me nervous to watch. So you can see how deep the blade is going in there. So if that pinches or you twist your angle or something, then the blade could kick, it could scratch up all the good opal around it. Oh, and look at how close that screw head is to the face of the nice part of the opal. I mean, I know I was close, but watching it on video now, man, I couldn't have been any closer. That was probably the hardest part. You also want to make sure that the other end of the thing doesn't hit the face of the opal either, but in this case there's a lot of room there. Sometimes the Dremel handpiece can get a bit close and that rotating metal will scuff real fast. But here it was all about that screw and keeping an eye on it, because that is, oh yeah, that is real close. Man, that second slice was the trickiest cut I've done probably in my entire time of cutting opal. It was absolutely insane. Unfortunately, it was incredibly difficult to record as well, so hopefully I got something there, but we'll do a play-by-action replay kind of thing here. So the first one, quite easy. I noticed that I could actually get a perfect straight lines right up alongside this big color bar. So we managed to get that one off, and yeah, I can keep a link in the description for a video that's more detailed when it comes to the slicing. But that was just a standard single straight line slice, and we will get this little opal here, carve it up, polish it up, and we should have something half decent there. A little bit of a blue, green, and also red, depending on which angle you're looking at. So still a lot of material to come off that one, but we will get a nice little stone there, couple carats, should be good. Now this was the absolute nightmare cut for a number of reasons, but we'll just have a quick look at how it's gone. So managed to not touch this color bar, and it is pretty interesting underneath actually. So if I remove this one, you can see there that that dark potch is kind of going through the whole thing. But we do have color there that goes onto the underside here, which kind of actually looks somewhat nice. Probably better from this side than the other side. This piece, there's really probably not much we can do with it, but I might just, I don't know, mess around with it. It might make a few good chips actually for some inlay work. But this one, there is a really good chance that color bar does run under this potch and meets up with this one here. So I am actually really looking forward to just rubbing this one back. And I reckon we'll just quickly do that in this video, because I can't really just sit back and wait to record another one for this. So I just want to get the sintered diamond burr on, and then we're just going to buzz straight through this and see. But you can see that there's plenty of color here, and it looks pretty nice. I'll have to get rid of this part with the dark potch. But if this really does meet, we've got a wonderful stone across this entire area, which is absolutely remarkable. There is still a chance that this will just be potch in the guts, and then I'll just have to do, well, I'm in the mood for slicing, so I could just slice across here, slice down here, salvage something here, and then this will have to be a long kind of marquise cut stone. And hopefully it cleans up a little bit more with some more of these, with these little black spots clearing out, and a little bit of the fog over here clearing out as well. So let's just quickly flash forward and diamond burr this one. Alright, that took a very long time, and I don't think I would include all that footage for sure. I've really hunted, and only nature could make something this complicated. This thing seems to have just color pockets in just random places, which I have seen before. It's not overly surprising, especially in this modeled kind of potchy piece. But you can see here, I've dug very deep into these into these color bars just to see if they continue. And in some areas they kind of do. Up here, I can definitely link it to this little nodule of opal, and then this over here and this one here, they do kind of link, but the dark potch kind of keeps going through it. And then this one kind of links over here, and then over here it kind of links over here. But there does seem to be this really deep dark area that I'll end up going through the stone soon. There's not much opal left there, and it's just not fully linking, so I think this is going to have to get sliced up even further, or just polished with this darkness in the middle, looking a bit like a valley. If I bring it right out of the water, you'll see with the light will show you where the channels go. I've even cut over here, so if we look over this side, between each of these color nodules I've hunted. The only real successful one was over here, where I started to hit color quite quickly, but here you can see I'm almost through and the color's slightly there but not really. And then here it's once again getting close to all the way through the color, and we're just hitting a little bit of red but not much. And yeah, it's very, very annoying. I did test this area up over here, so this looks like it goes all the way through because I've got a millimeter less than that on this side, so this will stay. But over here I did get a bit to clear out, and then it joined over here, but it's still not great. It might involve some sort of creative piece out of this, or really it could just be chopped up and used as inlay opal, or basically chips. Any kind of work that a chip can do, that could be useful. But this area here is pretty good. I don't know if this extension over here is worth keeping attached. I think there might have to be, once again, another slice, save this massive stone, and then the rest is a bit hard to work with, even though there is some really good areas of color. I mean, look at that red. If I just give it a few movements, you can see that it is quite good, pretty flashy, bit of color play, not overly dull. Polished up, it would actually look alright, I reckon. But really, the key to this stone is this area here, and it didn't get much bigger underneath, which is really, really unlucky, really unfortunate. I don't know how something like this gets created, but nature has a way of doing that kind of thing. But there you have it. That's our opal. I'll probably cut this one once again, just off camera, and then we will probably work on this big stone and get that done for the viewer. We've also got this little stone, which I'll probably also get done, because I think it's still got a bit of a foggy cap over it. I didn't want to go that far with the 80 grits into diamonds. So I think that'll clear up a little bit, and we should have a fairly nice stone there. Probably teardrop shape. It looks naturally like a teardrop already. And then I've got this offcut, which, yeah, it could be used for some sort of inlay work or chip work. There is a really nice section in it, so it's very similar to, well, since it came off this slice, it's very similar to here. So it does have a bit of play to it, and a bit of color. Pretty vibrant, so those will just kind of sit aside. But we should end up with 2 half-decent stones, one pretty small one, and then one pretty large one there. Maybe it actually looks like a marquise cut just here would look alright. This one might actually end up being an oval. I'll get the stencils out and have a play, have a look, and yeah, bring all of this back. And we'll have 2 finished stones out of that entire massive piece. But I will reiterate what I said in the first video. As soon as a massive chunk of opal becomes the size of the palm of your hand, even if you've got a small hand, you've got to be ready to commit a lot of hours into it. So if you are carving, this is definitely out of reach if you're doing it by hand. But if you do have a rotary tool, it's probably out of the comfort zone a bit. Even this massive stone alone, if this piece just came to me for whatever reason, just a massive rough rub, even this is going to take quite a long time to slice, trim off all the edges, just because it's so thick. Trimming the back in to the opal level and polishing up this stone is going to take quite a bit of time. Just be careful when you buy rough and commit to projects. Sometimes they will get very quickly out of hand if they are huge. and they show any potential at all. We will get these 2 stones finished. I am very determined, and then I can send them away and hopefully the person can be very happy with them. But until then, I'll say goodbye and see you in the next video.